Ah, the tale of small businesses and the unsung heroes in a world of corporate giants. According to the U.S. Small Business Association, these pint sized powerhouses make up 99.9% of all U.S. businesses. That's right, they're practically the Avengers of our economy. Between 1995 and 2020, small businesses were the real job creators, responsible for 62% of new gigs. They're the backbone of the U.S. economy and contributing 43.5% to our GDP. Think of them as the MVPs in the economic game. Also, 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Of the new jobs created between 1995 and 2020, small businesses accounted for 62%, 12.7 million compared to 7.9 million by large enterprises. Small businesses aren't just small players in the American economy, they're the dynamic engines that drive it. Picture this: they create a whopping 2/3 of all the fresh jobs out there and contribute a substantial 43.5% to the USA's GDP. 59.9 million Americans work at small businesses across the nation. An estimated 47% of Americans shop at small businesses at least twice a week, generating about 45% of the nation's economic activity. According to the most recent available numbers from the U.S. Census, approximately 47% of U.S. employees work for small businesses compared to 54.5% in 1988. In a nutshell, they're the lifeblood of our economic vitality, and that's not an overstatement. Not only do they generate jobs, but they also spark careers and open up new opportunities. These successful small enterprises do more than that. They give back to the communities through paychecks and taxes, supporting the birth of other small businesses and boosting local public services. Whether it starts with just a handful of employees, be it 1, 2, 5, or 10, it revitalizes towns, cities, and counties, turning empty spaces into thriving economies. Now, here's a fun fact. By choosing to shop at local small businesses, you're not only helping budding entrepreneurs, you're giving your local economy a shot in the arm. Spend $100 at a local business, and a whopping 68% of it stays right within your community. If you splurge the same amount at a big box store, only 48% of it stays local. Independent businesses aren't just job creators, they bring in fresh job opportunities, innovative products, revenue, services, and more. But wait, there's more. Small businesses have a big heart too. They're not just about economic benefits, they're into charity and innovation. A whopping 52% of small business owners are charitable, with 42% of them generously donating up to $1,000. And the innovation, well, here's a stat that'll knock your socks off. Independent businesses produce 16 times more new patents per employee than those big patenting giants. Now, you'd think that with all of these contributions, the government would give small businesses a big pat on the back, right? Wrong. Despite all they do, small businesses often fly under the government's radar, missing out on the perks and incentives showered on large corporations. It's a classic case of the little guy doing big things while getting overlooked. Despite being the unsung heroes of the economy, small businesses often find themselves playing in an uneven field when it comes to government support. Unlike their larger counterparts, they don't get the same cushy tax breaks or local and state incentives, especially for things like production facilities and research and development. When the financial storm hits, big corporations can sail to safety with federal bailout money, but the same lifeline isn't thrown to small businesses. Despite these odds, small businesses are like resilient underdogs. They continue to flourish. Surveys even reveal that people tend to trust local small businesses more than the big conglomerates. But here's the catch: small businesses rarely hog the limelight. While CEOs of large companies bask in the glory of magazine covers, small businesses remain the unsung heroes, their achievements tucked away in the back pages of business news. To make matters worse, the White House hasn't exactly rolled out the red carpet for small business growth. During the banking crisis, assistance was doled out generously to big banks while limiting small businesses' access to credit. This hits small banks hard, and they're responsible for 60% of small business loans and 80% of farm loans. And as panic sets in, depositors flock to big banks in what seems like a flight to safety. As if that weren't enough, there's a plot afoot to make life tougher for independent contractors and franchisees. The National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, has its sights set on nearly 800,000 franchise owners employing 8.5 million folks. Their proposed joint employer rule would spell disaster for the franchise industry and squeeze small business owners who are franchisees. It's like adding insult to injury for these entrepreneurial spirits who dare to dream big in the face of adversity. The NLRB rule aims to insert franchisors, those distant corporate headquarters, right into the middle of the relationship between franchisees and their employees. It's like adding an unwanted third wheel to a partnership. Under this proposal, the very definition of an employer would get a makeover. Franchisors who currently have no direct say in the lives of those working at a franchisee would suddenly find themselves in an entirely different ballgame, complete with more liability for employment issues. Picture this: the new rule might turn the owners of small business franchisees into de facto managers for these distant corporations. It's a game changer that could eat into their earnings and curtail their opportunities, as some corporations might prefer to take direct control of the employees to dodge potential liability. But wait, there's more. The Department of Labor has unleashed a notice of proposed rulemaking that could spell trouble for those who opt for independent contractor status. Regardless of how you frame the test, the Biden administration seems keen on classifying workers as employees, even if they have dreams of being their own boss. And to top it all off, there's a whopping tax hike proposal lurking in the background, specifically targeting small businesses. It's like trying to shake the pennies out of the little guy's pocket while the big fish swim free. The proposal will raise the tax rate on small businesses structured as corporations by 1/3. Yikes. These tax hikes would transfer money from main streets across the country where it is needed to Washington, D.C., where it would be spent on big government programs for little to no value. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how our country treats small businesses.